Today we're talking about why your circumstances go haywire in the 3D when you choose to consciously create something different. You're either seeing the exact opposite happen or you're noticing that the current circumstances that you want to change are flaring up and they seem to be intensified. We're going to talk about that and what you can do when this occurs. Welcome to my channel. This is where we cultivate consciousness. My name is Denise and I am a consciousness mindset coach. If you'd like to work with me, there's a link in the description of this video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, sharing, scribe. For all you scribes out there, thanks for scribing. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And thank you for commenting and contributing to the content. So you've just started consciously creating something different in your reality. You're doing your affirmations. You're getting familiar with who you would be as that version. Maybe you're scripting, maybe you're visualizing, and you notice that your 3D circumstances are either showing you the exact opposite of what you're affirming, or the already existing circumstances that you wanted to change are now flaring up and they seem to be getting worse. What is going on? I know I'm not the only one that has experienced this, and based off of the subscribers question, I know there's more people that are maybe currently experiencing this or have experienced it or are worried about experiencing it. So we're going to talk about that. And the first thing I want to remind you is that, first of all, your circumstances are temporary. Your circumstances can only remain as long as you remain in the state with which those circumstances can reflect. So it's always up to you. You're always the source, you're always the cause, you're always the deciding factor. So if your circumstances seem to be getting worse, it's not a sign for you to retreat and run and give up. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean you're not meant to have your desire. You've already been given everything. You're meant to have literally anything you want because you as consciousness have been given it. It all exists within you. So it doesn't mean the universe is testing you. Okay? This is a big misconception. The universe is not separate from you. Yes, we have manifested or in a manifestation of consciousness that seems as though the universe is something apart from or outside of us, but all things that appear to be apart from or outside of us as this manifested version are only available and eternally available within as consciousness. So nothing actually exists outside of or is separate from you. What you look at, how you perceive the universe is your state being reflected out in a manifested physical 3D experience. So there's nothing out there that's waiting for you to do better or change. It simply is that the universe, reality, the 3D, cannot reflect back to you anything that you are not already assuming and being within your own state of consciousness. So if you're noticing your circumstances are the opposite, or you're noticing that they're flaring up and getting worse and intensifying, it's one of two things. It's either reflecting back to you your level of doubt in what you're affirming, or it's reflecting back that moment where you were so focused on what you don't want and so over it and so sick and tired of it that that's what caused you to decide to change. And so in that, you're naturally putting awareness on the thing you don't like. It's in the discomfort or the resistance to the present, current, or momentarily 3D reality that you don't like. And that is going to be reflected out, and it may get reflected out as a flare-up. Those circumstances will appear to intensify because right when you were deciding, or right before you decided to suddenly shift and start working toward creating something different for yourself, you got frustrated and you were very aware of how uncomfortable it was and how this out here you don't like. So that may flare up. But the other part, like I mentioned, is it's reflecting back your doubt. And this is very common because what happens is people want to start affirming something so that they can see it in the 3D, which then will give them permission to believe in it. But remember, the 3D is a reflection. It's not going to show you something that you're not already being. You cannot seek to the 3D for confirmation of your state of being, or confirmation that you've shifted, or confirmation that something is true for you. You're the one that decides whether or not it's true for you. That's it. There's nothing outside of you that can confirm or decide that. And when you've shifted authentically into that place of your affirmations are now your truth, and it's no longer something you're saying to remind yourself, it's something that you're declaring as your truth, your 3D will still reflect back, again, those old circumstances. But what's going to be different is your response to them. You're not going to hold yourself in attachment to that old identity anymore. You're going to hold yourself in attachment to your new identity, which is no matter what's happening in my bank account, I'm wealthy, abundant, and free. No matter what's happening in my relationship, I am loved, cared for, and cherished. No matter what's happening in my physical body, it is, thriving in its best shape and health ever, right? That's what we are working toward doing, is getting ourselves on board with our own truth and not needing to see it out there in that 3D reflective reality. So if you're checking for the evidence, if you're checking for the proof, you're going to see the opposite, or you're going to see things not change because you haven't yet adopted the assumption that what you're affirming is your truth. You haven't yet brought yourself to the conviction of this is who I am no matter what I'm seeing out there. And that's the whole point. So while you're affirming and doing your other, whether it's visualizing or scripting or whatever it is you're doing, continue to remind yourself you're not doing that to change the reflection. It has nothing to do with the reflection ultimately. You're doing it to remind yourself who you're choosing to be. You're doing it to become aware of who you're choosing to be. You're doing it to reaffirm who you say you are, not to cause a change or an effect out there, because that will never happen. It has to come from the source. It has to come from within. So if you're seeing this occur in your 3D right now, if you're noticing that your circumstances are the opposite of what you've decided, or they are flaring up and getting worse out there, don't worry about it. Your job in this moment is to continue to decide who you are. Continue to go within. Continue to, whether it's doing affirmations, scripting, journaling, continue to give yourself permission to explore who you would be if your circumstances were how you wanted them to be, and then decide that that's who you are, and that's how you're going to show up, and that's who you're going to maybe consistently remind yourself that that's your truth now. And so don't worry about the reflection at all, really. Just go within, focus your attention toward who you choose you are, and keep practicing that. And it will stick. It will, when you find yourself not needing to check out there, that's when out there is going to change. When you have adopted, like, let's say you're doing affirmations, when you have in awareness adopted your affirmation as your truth, without needing to see the 3D reflect it back, that's when it's going to reflect it back. That's when it's going to change. So we really want to shift our focus entirely out of this whole reflection, out of this whole illusion, out of the 3D, and go within and start living from and within there. Live from there, live in there. That's the beginning, that's the end, that's the middle, that's all of it. Only your consciousness is reality. So only what you're being aware of in consciousness are you being aware of in consciousness, which means you're not aware of anything else, which means nothing else matters to you. That is your reality. So you can have it any way you want when you give yourself permission to go all in, by the pearl, and live as if imagination is the only reality, because it is. Hope you guys enjoyed my video. I will see you Friday. Bye.